Hello everyone, thank you for reaching back out to my channel. The date is December 26, 2023. My name is Jonathan Bellasorti. I am continuing to read documents released by the FBI pursuant to Executive Order 14040. This executive order and these documents that were released are related to an operation probe called Operation Encore. This Operation Encore was a probe to look into Saudi Arabian connection to the 9/11 plot through individuals such as Omar al-Bayoumi, Fahad al-Tumeri, Omar Basnan, Mohdar Abdullah, and many other individuals within the Saudi government as well as connected to Saudi Arabia, providing a support framework for future American Airlines Flight 77 hijackers, Nawaf al-Hazmi and Khalid al-Mihdar, while they were staying in the United States during the years 1999 through 2001. Specifically, today I will be reading an interview that the FBI conducted on August 8th of 2011 with Mohdar Abdullah, who on this channel we should be familiar with as the Yemeni-born individual who was arrested shortly after September 11th, 2001, as being a key individual who was involved with developing a close relationship with the future hijackers aforementioned, Nawaf al-Hazmi and Khalid al-Mihdar. He had assisted Nawaf al-Hazmi and Khalid al-Mihdar in obtaining flight lessons, obtaining lodging. He also worked with Khalid al-Mihdar and Nawaf al-Hazmi, or he actually worked with Nawaf al-Hazmi and other persons of interest in a Texaco gas station in Mesa, California, owned by an individual named Osama Sam Mustafa, who was actually investigated on a conspiracy to defraud the U.S. in a tax scheme for about $17 million. This individual, Omar Mustafa, then fled the United States and was eventually captured and is serving a prison sentence. But yes, we are going to be focusing today on Mohdar Abdullah. This interview gets a little bit more detailed into his association with Nawaf al-Hazmi, Khalid al-Mihdar, what support he actually provided, and Abdullah's declarations as to that. Once again, this is voluntary information provided by Abdullah. He also, in portions of this interview, there are areas which are redacted, so as usual I will either say blank, or if I know that it's a specific person that is referencing as either a male or female, I'll say he or she. Other than that, I don't really have control over what is redacted in these documents. So let's continue on with the meat of today's video. So on May 18th, 2011, and May 19th, 2011, Mihdar Mohammed al-Mihdar Zaid, also known as Mohdar Abdullah, date of birth in 1978, was interviewed. In Federal Bureau of Investigation and New York City Police Department were present in the room and conducted the interview. FBI and New York Police Department were in position to observe the interview. After being advised of the identity of the interviewing agents and the nature of the interview, Mohdar voluntarily provided the following information. After graduating from high school in Yemen, Mohdar traveled to the United Kingdom for approximately 3 weeks. He then returned to Yemen and shortly thereafter took a flight to visit Italy. While in Italy, Mohdar called some school classmates who were in Canada. These classmates encouraged him to attend college in Canada. Mohdar applied and received an acceptance letter from Algodon College in Ottawa, Canada. He did not apply for college through the embassy in Yemen. Mokhtar's father sponsored his move to Canada and paid all the college tuition. While residing and attending college in Ottawa, Canada, Mokhtar attempted the Central Mosque. He could not provide the name of the imam, but commented that he was of Libyan descent. Mokhtar did not meet and was not acquainted with Redacted while residing in Canada. Mokhtar insisted that he met Redacted only after arriving in San Diego, California in 1999. Both Mokhtar and Redacted attended the Masjid Abu Bakr and the Masjid Ar-Ribat while residing in San Diego. Mokhtar knew both Nawaf al-Hazmi and Khalid al-Mihdar. Mokhtar was first introduced to Hazmi and Mihdar by Omar al-Bayoumi, who was a Saudi financier of the local Saudi-sponsored mosques. Don't forget, also suspected Saudi intelligence operative, which we will see, actually, Mokhtar volunteer that information. Actually, it's in the next sentence. So, Mokhtar described a perception in the community that Bayoumi was associated with the Saudi intelligence services. Others in the Islamic community would say to stay away from Bayoumi because he spies for the Saudi government. And Mokhtar was introduced to Hazmi and Mihdar after prayer service in January of 2000 at the mosque where Bayoumi was an administrator and had an office. Bayoumi called Mokhtar and invited him to an evening meal at the mosque. Bayoumi walked into the room with Hazmi and Mihdar, and then, after talking to the Imam Anwar al-Laki, Bayoumi walked over to Mokhtar and introduced Hazmi and Mihdar as two Saudi students who did not speak English and were new to San Diego. Bayoumi told Hazmi and Mihdar that this was Mokhtar. Mokhtar understood this to indicate that Bayoumi had previously had a conversation with Hazmi and Mihdar about him. Bayoumi asked Mokhtar if he could help Hazmi and Mihdar. Mokhtar then sat next to Hazmi and ate a meal. Mokhtar clarified to investigators that he was not instructed to look after Hazmi or Mihdar while they were in the United States, but was asked by Bayoumi. Mokhtar is a man and therefore nobody tells him what to do, and all the help he provided to Hazmi and Mihdar was of his own accord. Now, I would like the same kind of questions that were asked in previous interviews to other redacted individuals who were associated with these mosques and their Nawaf al-Hazmi and Khalid al-Mihdar, whether or not they had previously, voluntarily or willingly, on their own accord, helped other Muslims in their community. Because that, I would say, is a very telling question that could help understand what Mokhtar knew, what Omar al-Bayoumi knew, and other important individuals related to this investigation. Mokhtar developed a friendship with Mihdar and Hazmi and offered continued assistance to them, particularly by acting as an intermediary when it came to dealing with language barriers. He would translate for Hazmi and Mihdar and help them fill out documents. Mokhtar made a phone call to a flight school for Mihdar. He did not help Hazmi and Mihdar get social security cards or licenses, but did help Hazmi and Mihdar fill out the paperwork for driver's licenses. Hazmi and Mihdar lived in San Diego, and Hazmi also worked at the gas station where Mokhtar worked. Mokhtar also helped them try to exchange a set of airplane tickets, which transited through Bangkok for a direct flight to Saudi Arabia, but was not successful. Mokhtar had conversations with both Hazmi and Mihdar about jihad on many occasions. Sometimes they had these conversations while sitting on the picnic tables outside the gas stations where they worked. The men would talk about the fighting in Chechnya and the plight of the Palestinians, and they would watch internet videos of the fighting in Chechnya and the oppression of Muslims by Russia. They discussed the U.S. embassy bombings in Tanzania and Kenya, and Hazmi and Mihdar would both justify the attacks as part of jihad. The three men also discussed Osama bin Laden, and Hazmi and Mihdar praised UBL as a jihadi. Mokhtar told Hazmi and Mihdar that he did not agree with the attacks on the embassies. Mokhtar did his own internet research about UBL. He continued to have discussions with Hazmi and Mihdar about jihad, the war against Islam, and the oppression of Muslims, focusing on events such as the presence of American troops on Muslim land, particularly in the land of Saudi Arabia. Mokhtar said that during these conversations with Hazmi and Mihdar, the three men also discussed training camps. Mokhtar also spent a lot of time with Hazmi after Mihdar departed the United States. Hazmi had jihadi, anti-Jew, and anti-American views. Mokhtar attended 2 protests on issues surrounding Israel and the Palestinians, including accompanying Hazmi to a pro-Palestinian/anti-Israel protest in Balboa Park in San Diego in 2000. Hazmi talked to Mokhtar about wanting to be a pilot and attending flight school. Hazmi gave Mokhtar a telephone number to a flight school and requested that Mokhtar call and make inquiries on behalf of Hazmi. Hazmi said he wanted to work for the Transportation Department of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Mokhtar continued to assist Hazmi in his daily affairs even after the discussions about Hazmi's views. Mokhtar spent a lot of time with Hazmi on a daily basis. He did not see Hazmi do anything suspicious while in San Diego. Hazmi was in the United States as a student, but he did not go to school. Mokhtar described Hazmi as a strict Islamic fundamentalist, noting that Hazmi would not even shake a woman's hand because it was against his Islamic beliefs. Hazmi wanted to marry a Syrian woman and went to see the Minister of Interior in Saudi Arabia, who told Hazmi he could not marry the woman. While in San Diego, Mokhtar assisted Hazmi in seeking a woman to court and marry on dating websites, such as Match.com. Mokhtar believed Hazmi was seeking a female with whom to have sex. Mokhtar was not aware of any females with whom Hazmi had contact through these dating websites. Mokhtar and Hazmi often entered into discussions regarding the fundamentals and strict teachings of Islam. In one instance, Mokhtar had a discussion with Hazmi as to why Hazmi was clean-shaven and did not have a beard. Hazmi told Mokhtar that he did his reasons as why he did not wear a beard, but he did not elaborate. Mokhtar asked Hazmi why. If Hazmi did not like being in the United States, he didn't leave. Hazmi didn't answer the question. Hazmi mentioned UBL by name in several of these conversations. Hazmi made the association between bin Laden and the embassy bombings in Tanzania. During this conversation, Mokhtar thought back to when the Navy ship, the USS Cole, was attacked in 2000. Hazmi told Mokhtar that something needs to be done to fight the jihad, and went as far as to say they should do something. Mokhtar did not think Hazmi meant they should be terrorists. He believed that Hazmi meant they should train and fight abroad, like the Muslim men who trained and fought in Afghanistan and Chechnya in the past. Mokhtar did not realize that Hazmi was trying to recruit him. Mokhtar recognized a photograph of Fahad al-Tumari and admitted knowing Tumari. Mokhtar traveled from San Diego to Culver City, California to attend prayer at the King Fahd Mosque. His first trip to Culver City was with two close friends, named Blank and Samir Abdun. Blank knew the location of the King Fahd Mosque and gave Mokhtar directions. This occasion was the first time Mokhtar met Tumari. At the time, Tumari was the imam of the King Fahd Mosque. On his next visit to the King Fahd Mosque, Mokhtar was with redacted LNU. Mokhtar could not recall redacted's last name. He described redacted as a Yemeni citizen and a neighbor of his while they both resided in Sana'a, Yemen. Redacted was a doctor who had attended medical school in Germany and was in San Diego for a visit at the time. Redacted stayed with Redacted. Mokhtar and Redacted rented a car and traveled together to Los Angeles, California to attend prayer at the King Fahd Mosque. Mokhtar and Redacted later went to a Yemeni group meeting in Long Beach, California. On his third visit to the King Fahd Mosque, Mokhtar visited a separate mosque that was affiliated with the Tablighi Jamaat group. This separate mosque was in the same area of Los Angeles, California as the King Fahd Mosque. Mokhtar did not indicate he was with him on this trip. In June of 2000, he attended the King Fahd Mosque with Hazmi and Mohdar. Tumari knew Hazmi and Mohdar. Mokhtar knew this because he was present when Tumari, Hazmi, and Mohdar were together at the King Fahd Mosque in Los Angeles. And yes, we know that from my previous readings that there was a redacted individual associated with the King Fahd Mosque who introduced Nawaf al-Hazmi and Khalid al-Mohdar to Fahad al-Tumari. This individual, by the FBI's knowledge and gathering of information, did calculations as to show that while Nawaf al-Hazmi and Khalid al-Mohdar were in Los Angeles, he was with them every other day. So he was with them for a significant amount of time. Mokhtar traveled to Los Angeles 3 times with the hijackers before the September 11th, 2001 attacks. On June 9th of 2000, Mohdar accompanied Hazmi and Mohdar from San Diego to Los Angeles in order to take Mohdar to the Los Angeles airport. Hazmi drove the two men in his car, with Mohdar and Mohdar as the only passengers. Mohdar told Mohdar that he was leaving the United States for Yemen to go to see his wife and infant child. In the late afternoon of June 9th, Mohdar, Hazmi, and Mohdar visited the King Fahd Mosque for prayer and then met with Tumeri. During the time Mohdar, Mohdar, and Hazmi were meeting with Tumeri in the parking lot of the mosque, an individual named Redacted walked up and greeted Hazmi and Mohdar. It appeared to Mohdar that Hazmi, Mohdar, and Redacted were well acquainted with each other. Another individual, named Redacted, also walked up and greeted Hazmi and Mohdar. Redacted and Redacted were also good friends. Blank was originally from country, and we don't get a lot of information here. He was originally from Redacted. He had a more prominent role interacting with them. This is the first time Mohdar met Redacted and Redacted. Tumeri, Redacted already knew Hazmi and Mohdar by this time, probably from when Hazmi and Mohdar resided in Los Angeles, like what I had aforementioned just prior in my previous readings. After the greetings took place in the parking lot, Tumeri invited Hazmi, Mohdar, and Mohdar to the library at the King Fahd Mosque. The library was located in a house across the street from the mosque. Mohdar was present at the meeting in the library, but could not overhear the conversation between Mohdar, Hazmi, and Tumeri because the conversation took place when Mohdar was not listening range. Mohdar was behind the three while they were talking to the library and did not hear what they were talking about. This meeting in the library area lasted approximately 2 hours. After the visit at the library in the King Fahd Mosque, Mohdar, Hazmi, and Mohdar were invited to eat dinner at Redacted's residence. Mohdar could not recall exactly who invited him to eat dinner, but believed it was Redacted. Mohdar described this dinner as a goodbye dinner for Mohdar, who was leaving the United States the following day. Mohdar rode in the car with Hazmi and Mohdar to Redacted's residence. Mohdar did not recall if Hazmi knew how to get to Redacted's residence, but Redacted did not travel with them, and they did not follow Redacted to the residence. Redacted's father may have also been present at the residence and joined them for dinner. Tumeri was also present at the dinner, having arrived on his own. Redacted did not attend the dinner because he had to eat at his own house. That's another individual. Redacted joined Mohdar, Hazmi, and Mohdar later that same evening at their hotel to socialize. Redacted did not join Mohdar, Hazmi, and Mohdar in their hotel room. On the morning of June 10th of 2000, before leaving for LAX, Hazmi and Mohdar met again with Tumeri at the library across the street from the King Fahd Mosque. Tumeri, Hazmi, and Mohdar entered the library. Mohdar had remained outside at this time and could not provide any information on the content of the conversation. Mohdar did not know the identity of an unknown individual in the previously documented security video taken at LAX airport in 2000. He had not seen anyone during his trip to the airport, and even after being showed the surveillance tape, he did not recognize the individual. Mohdar had nothing to offer regarding the identified individual and insisted he was not able to provide any information about this person. He has consistently stated in the past that he could not identify this person and has never known who the individual in the video was. During one trip to Los Angeles, Mohdar, Hazmi, and Mohdar stayed in a hotel in Culver City, close to the King Fahd Mosque. In the middle of the night, Mohdar observed either Hazmi or Mohdar leave the hotel room. Mohdar asked where the person was going, and the person responded that he had to make a phone call. Mohdar did not ask anything further and did not see anyone else leave with him or whether he met anyone while he was out of the room. On one visit to the King Fahd Mosque, Mohdar also became acquainted with a Yemeni male named Ramez Noman. Noman told Mohdar about a group of Yemenis who met regularly in Long Beach, California, and invited Mohdar to attend a meeting. Noman accompanied Mohdar and Hisham to the meeting. Noman was in the United States as a student from Yemen attending college at San Diego State University in San Diego, California. Noaman and Mokhtar continued to attend these Yemeni group meetings together, and Hazmi accompanied them to one of the meetings. Hazmi did not know anyone else in the group. Mokhtar knew some of the Yemeni males that attended these group meetings because they went to high school together in Sana'a, Yemen. Sheikh Anwar al-Laki had attended meetings of this Yemeni group and had led prayers there. Mokhtar met Redacted's family at the Masjid al-Ribat in San Diego, California. Redacted introduced Mokhtar to Redacted and her family members. Redacted's mother asked Mokhtar to look after another Redacted individual, including driving her back and forth to work at an Redacted location in San Diego. He never had any conversations with Redacted about Hazmi or Mohdar. Mokhtar had been introduced to Redacted at somebody's house. This person and her mother were instrumental in making the arrangements for the marriage ceremony between Mokhtar and individual. Individual's mother had wanted to have Mokhtar marry one of her daughters. Mokhtar said he never had any type of sexual relations with blank. Mokhtar indicated that blank's family was, we don't get that, but then stated that they were blank in response to questions about their nationality. He then referred to blank's family as blank. We don't get a lot of contextual information here. Mokhtar met blank's family at the Ar-Ribat Mosque and helped them out because they were new to the country. The marriage ceremony between Mokhtar and Redacted was held in the parking lot of a Denny's restaurant in San Diego. Mokhtar could not possibly recall the date of the ceremony, but indicated that Redacted and possibly her mother attended. Mokhtar denied that that somebody brought a ring for him to give to his future wife, I'd imagine. Mokhtar married this individual several weeks before 9/11, but did not blank until the night of September 10th, 2001. I wonder what that is. He did not receive, or he received consent to marry this person from this person's mother, and then got married in an Islamic wedding ceremony where there were two witnesses. Mokhtar and Redacted were married in accordance with Islam by an official from the Masjid al-Ribat. Mokhtar could not recall the name nor the identity of the officials who performed his wedding ceremony. The witnesses to the ceremony were Mokhtar's best friend and Yazid al-Salmi. Mokhtar spent the night of September 10th, 2001 in a hotel. That night, he brought Redacted to the hotel. Later that night, he took Redacted home to her mother's house, and Mokhtar then went back to the hotel to spend the night, because he had paid for the whole night, and the hotel was closer to his school than was his apartment. Mokhtar woke up on September 11th, 2001, and received a call from Redacted's mother, who was crying and saying that New York is now on fire. Mokhtar asked to speak to Redacted and then found out something was going on in New York. He turned on the television and saw the Twin Towers, but thought at first that the events were an accident. He then took a shower and went to class at Grossmont College. Mokhtar saw everyone waiting outside of the school, and when he asked what was going on, someone said classes were canceled because of what was happening. He then went to the Masjid al-Ribat, was also turned away from entering the mosque. Mokhtar got upset that the mosque was closed and confronted the caretaker. The caretaker said to go home and that the mosque was closed because of what happened. Mokhtar was not at Redacted's family house at any time on September 11th, 2001. Mokhtar did not make or receive a telephone call from Redacted's family house on the day of September 11th, 2001. He did make a call to the Lemon Grove Mosque on the day of September 11th, 2001. Mokhtar recontacted Redacted and her family approximately 2 years ago via email and online chat rooms. The latest contact was approximately 6 months ago. Within the last 2 months, he had been in contact with Redacted's mother via instant messenger. Mokhtar recontacted the Redacted family because he was searching for information related to the possibility that he fathered a child with Redacted, which this person denied. Redacted's mother told Mokhtar that Redacted was lying about the birth records of her child and that the child was actually Mokhtar's. He went through Redacted to gain information. Mokhtar also discussed the topic of fathering this child with Redacted. He confided in, we don't get that because the two go way back together in the San Diego Muslim community. Mokhtar trusted Redacted because of the history they have together and a friendship that goes back for more than 10 years. Redacted stood behind him and supported him while he was in jail after the 9/11 attacks. Mokhtar received a phone call from the man named Nawaf al-Hazmi in August 2001, but it was not Nawaf al-Hazmi. Mokhtar received the call from Redacted and left a message on Mokhtar's home phone answering the machine asking if he was with us and if Mokhtar was going to come with them. Mokhtar understood this to refer to whether he was going to accompany Redacted to Los Angeles, California from San Diego. Mokhtar had had an in-person conversation with Redacted 3 days earlier about traveling together from San Diego to Los Angeles. Mokhtar did not respond to the message and did not go to Los Angeles with Redacted and never spoke to them again. Mokhtar was on his way to drop off Redacted at work when he was arrested in 2001. He never mentioned anything to Redacted regarding any of the events of the 9/11 attacks. Mokhtar was introduced to Anwar al-Awlaki through al-Awlaki's younger brother. Mokhtar was friends with al-Awlaki's brother, Omar al-Awlaki, back in Yemen. He knew the al-Awlaki family from Yemen, where they lived a few houses down from the family's house. When Mokhtar was living in Canada, he wanted to come to the United States to find work. He was told by someone in Canada that he can come to the United States and then claim asylum. Mokhtar called Omar, who said to call his brother, al-Awlaki, regarding going to San Diego. Mokhtar asked al-Awlaki if he would sponsor Mokhtar coming to San Diego, and al-Awlaki agreed to do so. Mokhtar first met al-Awlaki in 1999 when al-Awlaki picked up Mokhtar at LAX airport. Upon Mokhtar's first arrival in the United States, it was Omar's idea for al-Awlaki to pick up Mokhtar at LAX. Mokhtar attended the Ar-Ribat Mosque in San Diego when al-Awlaki was the imam. Al-Awlaki was a great charismatic speaker. The youth looked up to al-Awlaki. Mokhtar looked up to al-Awlaki as well, but changed his view in 2005 when they did a news interview together for Al Jazeera in Yemen. Mokhtar's views had changed by this time, and he did not agree with al-Awlaki's radical views about terrorism and jihad. Mokhtar is not convinced everything the media is saying about al-Awlaki is right. Hazmi and Mohdar attended the Ar-Ribat Mosque and spoke with al-Awlaki on numerous occasions. Al-Awlaki also attended and gave sermons at the Yemeni group events in Long Beach. Al-Awlaki was at the Yemeni group meeting in Long Beach at the same time Hazmi attended. And the reason al-Awlaki left the United States was because he got a tip that the FBI was working a prostitution case against him. Al-Awlaki decided to leave before the case advanced. Mokhtar could not provide the current location or whereabouts of al-Awlaki. He last spoke in person with al-Awlaki in 2005, after he and al-Awlaki were interviewed together by a reporter from the Al Jazeera news organization. That interview was based on information released by the 9/11 Commission in the United States. Mokhtar last talked to al-Awlaki on the telephone at the end of 2008 with Redacted. Redacted was in Sana'a, Yemen, going to Arabic language school and working as an English language teacher at the American Center. Redacted and Mokhtar associated on a regular basis in Sana'a. In 2008, Redacted asked Mokhtar if he could put him in contact with al-Awlaki. Mokhtar told Redacted that he could, however, Mokhtar would have to talk with al-Awlaki in order to see if it was okay to give al-Awlaki's telephone number to Redacted. Mokhtar contacted al-Awlaki and relayed that Redacted wanted to speak with al-Awlaki via cellular telephone. Al-Awlaki remembered Redacted from the time they spent together in San Diego, California, and gave the approval to Mokhtar to give Redacted his telephone number. Redacted telephonically contacted al-Awlaki and they engaged in conversation. Al-Awlaki agreed to meet Redacted in person, but the situation in Yemen made it difficult for Redacted to travel to al-Awlaki. Redacted could not go to where al-Awlaki was without having a good reason for being there. Al-Awlaki told Redacted that he would have to send a driver for Redacted. The meeting was put on hold, and Redacted contact with al-Awlaki stopped for about a month and a half. Redacted approached Mokhtar again and asked to be put in contact with al-Awlaki a second time. Mokhtar got the approval from al-Awlaki and Redacted called again. Al-Awlaki and Redacted talked again about meeting, but it never happened. Mokhtar did not know why the meeting did not take place. Mokhtar was not going to accompany Redacted to the meeting. Mokhtar obtained al-Awlaki's telephone number through al-Awlaki's brother in Yemen. Redacted Mokhtar provided Redacted's cell phone number as Redacted. Mokhtar explained he did this favor for redacted because he felt obligated to, redacted for standing by him during his arrest and deportation process after the 9/11 attack. Because of his or her loyalty, Mokhtar praised this person or him and considers him a close friend and brother in Islam. Mokhtar was not willing to broker contact with al-Awlaki for the investigating agents and said he is done with all of this stuff. He would not broker an introduction to al-Awlaki for investigators even when offered compensation. After Hazmi left San Diego in December of 2000, Mokhtar talked with Yazid al-Salmi at their apartment on Saranac Street in San Diego, California. At the time, Yazid's uncle worked for the Ministry of Interior for the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Yazid's uncle told Yazid that Hazmi was wanted for questioning by government officials in Saudi Arabia. Yazid did not provide Mokhtar with any additional information related to this conversation. Nawaf al-Hazmi was wanted for questioning by the government officials in Saudi Arabia. That's a very interesting statement there. Mokhtar speculated that Hazmi was wanted for questioning because Hazmi talked badly about the royal family in Saudi Arabia. Another individual named Omar al-Bayoumi was also critical of the royal family in Saudi Arabia. Mokhtar sat and socialized with a bunch of friends at a table outside the Texaco gas station in San Diego on many occasions. This is where Mokhtar and Hazmi worked while residing in San Diego. On one occasion, Mokhtar and his friends were talking about well-known Islamic sheikhs and scholars. Hazmi talked about a dream he had where the Day of Judgment was near. Hazmi also talked about how oppressive the royal family was to the people of Saudi Arabia. And Hazmi said the gates of Mecca would be opened by jihadists. While Mokhtar was incarcerated for his immigration issues, he met two individuals in jail named Redacted and Black. At no time did Mokhtar admit to either man that he had knowledge of the 9/11 attacks beforehand or say that the U.S. deserved what happened on 9/11. Mokhtar made sarcastic comments about the 9/11 attacks because when he got to prison, everyone said that he was the one involved in 9/11. He would jokingly agree with people in a sarcastic way, but Redacted and Black lied about him to help themselves get out of jail. Mokhtar traveled to Indonesia in the past few years. Mokhtar feels he has not been well treated over the past 10 years. In the past, Italian, Jordanian, and Emirati governments. In the past 10 years, he has been spoken to by the U.S., FBI, CIA, and the Canadian, Italian, Jordanian, and Emirati governments. Mokhtar felt that he had offered his assistance to the U.S. government early on, specifically naming Redacted. But he was betrayed by the U.S. legal system. Mokhtar has no intention of testifying about any information involving himself, nor any information provided in this interview. And that is the end of this reading. Thank you for following along. I appreciate everybody listening to my videos. Every view counts and matters. If you have any questions about my reading, please comment. Please leave a like and a subscribe. And I hope to see you in my next video. Thank you.